we've got Ron and Kirsten for this week's edition of Ask Ron. So our first question is from Larry in Easton, Maryland. And he says, when you are looking for lease option deals, what do you say to FSBOs when they ask you to come see the property first before they will answer any questions about the house? Or they ask you, how is your credit? Have you been qualified by a mortgage broker? Where do you work? Who will be living in the house? What sort of direction or reply should one have for questions like this from FSBOs? I want to make sure I have the correct reply without blowing the deal.
Well, the first thing I'd ask you is, have you ever really had anybody ask you that? Because it ain't likely. I know we haven't. And if you have, you're never going to do business with that seller. So instead of me trying to answer all those questions, I think you're making up stuff that is not reality. And if you have had that question asked to you, the answer is simple. I'll need the information before I can determine whether I even wish to come to the house or not. And if you're not willing to give me that, the answer is no right now. Get past it, get over it, and get that unmotivated seller out of your life.
Okay.
Next question.
Ron Carruthers in Carlsbad, California.
Oh, Ron.
And he said, Mike Minahan, who's one of our other Gold Club members, has made the point repeatedly that 90 to 95% of success is based on how you think about something. With that being said, what are your favorite business or success books?
Well, I tell you, I just got one here actually, just today from my mentor, Dan Kennedy. It's called No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. I'd get anything and everything this guy writes, Dan Kennedy. You'll find him at dankennedy.com. He's all over Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, or whatever. This one's hot off the press. Now, I don't get anything for promoting this book, but I can tell you right now, I'll read it because I've read every one of his books. In fact, I would think he's probably the one man single-handedly responsible for a huge portion of my income during my last 20 years or so. So I'd get all of those. I don't know. It depends on what your interests are. I've read a lot of books on CEOs who have turned companies around and the like. I kind of like reading that kind of stuff. But when you ask somebody, what books do you recommend, I'd have to answer, oh, what interests you? So I can't go beyond that. Of course, that doesn't mean you shouldn't read my book. My book's top of the list. I always recommend that one.
All right, so we've got another question from Ron. And he said he really appreciated the call last night. We spoke about marketing to supplement what my VA is doing, but as we discussed, I haven't been getting any response to online ads posted on Craigslist. They're right out of the book and they're not getting ghosted, meaning I can see them showing up online. Any suggestions of different headlines to use or other places to post the ads?
Well, gosh, since you don't give me any clue what your ad says or what your headline currently is, that's hard to answer, but your headline should always say no bank qualifying or lease purchase. Those are your keywords. That's your unique selling proposition. And then a little bit about the house, number of bedrooms and number of baths, and the area of town. Always want the area of town in there. And that should trigger calls from Craigslist. Keep in mind, however, Craigslist is not the only website out there. Go to Google and type in, want to buy a house in your city, and here come a whole bunch of websites that you can advertise on for free, most likely. You get ads on all of them. And then get signs out. Signs get us more calls than anything else we do. Signs in front of the house, but also pointer signs going to the house. You do those things, you're going to get calls.
All right. So we've got a question from Hannah York in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Hey, Hannah.
And she says, hi, Ron. I have a property under contract for $34K.
Okay.
Similar properties in the area are being sold for $60K. I will assign my contract to an end buyer for $4K. Repairs are estimated at $5K. Seller will pay 50% of closing cost. A quick title check shows that the seller is not the owner on record. Seller now says that he does not care about what is on record or not. He owns the property free and clear. He seller financed property to this person and he foreclosed on it. All happened this year. He said I must just find a cash buyer and he will produce a clear title of ownership. Ron, please advise.
Well, quit worrying about the ownership. Obviously, a title search is going to determine whether he owns it or not, and you're not going to close unless you do get clear title. However, I'm concerned about your math. If it's only worth 60 in good condition and you're paying 34 for it, in not so good condition, you're paying too much. So I would not pay 34 if your 60 ARV is correct. Remember though, ARV means after repaired value, not current as is value, and you can't use bank-owned sales in that mix. So let's start with that, because if it needs 5 in work and you buy it for 34, you got 39 in it, you're not wholesaling that to any investor, I can tell you that right now. No investor is going to pay 39 for a house only worth 60. So get the price down or get the ARV up if applicable. You can go ahead and put it under contract if you want, but you're not going to get it sold with those numbers.
All right. So our very last question is from KJ Roberts in Walnut Creek, California.
KJ?
So it's another deal. The purchase price is $150,000, and he's got a private money lender in place for $160,000.
That's good.
He has to decide if he wants to spin it for $240,000 or do the fix-up of $30K and get $300,000. What would you do?
$240,000. Next question.
That's it. That's all I've got for this week.
I can tell you right now, if you can make that much on it as is, don't even think about renovating it. Because by the time you renovate it, try to put in all the holding costs and all the sales costs and all out of the junk, you won't make any more than you will right now if you can sell it for $240,000. So take the quick and easy money and get on with it. And then of course, if that doesn't turn out that you can sell it for the $240,000 as is, then you can always go back and use the renovation and selling the hard way as plan 2. But anything I can do to avoid a renovation, I'm going to take a serious look at.
Sounds like a plan. So that's all that we have for this week.
See you guys next week. Don't forget, there are a couple of very important December events coming up. Make sure you get the information on them. One's our Emergency Seller Financing Boot Camp, and another is a Quick Start event I'm going to do. And I just got permission to have a party at our house from the boss during the Quick Start event. I have a Christmas party there, so I hope to see you down here in December. See you next week.